And we're live. We're live, everybody. Welcome to Brainfood Live on Air, bringing it to you every Friday, no fail, episode 345, I think. We're going to end up at episode 350. We've already had it technically, but we've got the schedule lined up for the rest of the year. So we're going to hit 350 by the end of this year, which is fantastic. I never thought we'll be doing a weekly webinar for that number of for that number, and you can do the maths. That's basically it's like 7 years worth of constantly live streaming recruitment content. Who would have thought you could speak so much about recruitment? Anyway, welcome everybody. I'm sort of differently attired, as you might guess. Simply because it is absolutely freezing here in the UK, and there's no reason why you shouldn't snuggle up in temperatures like this. So welcome everybody. I hope you're kind of enjoying the end of the year vibe, and looking forward to this conversation, which is going to be a very exciting one, because we're going to be talking about a part of the recruiting funnel, which I think has had the most potential. It will have the most potential impact when it comes to how AI is going to affect it. That's top of funnel. What happens to recruitment advertising when AI agents, agentic AI, becomes predominant? So for instance, job candidate has an AI agent, recruiter has an AI agent, platform has loads of AI agents in it. What even happens to recruitment advertising in that scenario? Is there such a thing as a job board? Does that continue to exist? What happens to talent marketplaces? Does everyone become a recruitment agent with a digital front end? What does it all mean? We're going to talk about today, and do some speculations on this particular topic. Anyway, I want to say just a few welcomes and some sound checks as well. So folks, I just want to make sure people who are watching this on Crowdcast, if you can hear me okay, do let me know in the chat whether the audio and visual is fine. And if you're watching this on LinkedIn, there should be like a number of LinkedIn streams out there. If you're watching this on my LinkedIn or anybody else's, do let me know whether you can hear and see me okay. Drop me a comment in the chat there. Okay, thank you, Jim Beresford. Always good. Thank you, Nicola. I appreciate that as well. I think there's like something like a 20-second delay on chat as before it comes to my vision. So hope everyone's going to bear with me on that. Okay, good. We're going to crack on. But before I do, you might have noticed this week I did a competition online to say, you know what, I've got a spare ticket, a +1 at the top table at the IHR Awards next week on the 26th of November, on the 23rd. On the 26th, should I say. And I thought occurred to me, you know what, I could just like take anybody, like one of my mates or something. But I thought it might be a better thing to do to try and invite someone who could really make use of the networking. Particularly an individual that's currently looking for work. You know, we know how hard the market is right now, particularly coming into Christmas. I mean, how bad is that, going into Christmas and there's like no job opportunity for you? So I thought, right, what's going to happen is we'll do a raffle, and then I'm just going to pull it out of the hat. A lucky winner is going to have to spend time at my table. All expenses paid, top table, 300 recruiters in the room, some of the top people in the industry. Great opportunity to celebrate those folks, but also to network away, and maybe hustle up some opportunities. So I have the magic hat, folks. The magic hat is where I'm going to pull it out live. And this is the show where we're going to do it, okay? So let's do it real quick before we get on with the show. There's only about like 7 people that actually went in for it. So I don't even know who's going to be winning this. But it's one of 7. Your chances are very good. So let's see who we've got here. Okay. Let's pull them out. Have I got it? Okay, here we go. The winner is, what does that say? Don't even have the second name. I think that's Dan G. Dan G. Whoever you are, Dan G. I remember actually on the comments, it was Daniel something or other, but your second name's hidden. But you, sir, are my +1 next week on Wednesday. I'll drop you an email. Make sure you have your tuxedo ready, sir. Because we're going to be sharing that table. You have a date. All right, brilliant stuff. let's all go. Slytherin. He probably is Slytherin as well, Stephen. So who knows? All right, let's get on with this. We're going to bring on Ritu Mahanka and Bill Fisher, of course, and they're going to join us for this conversation because who knows more about recruitment advertising than these two? How do I do that? I re-invite them to the stage, uninvite, and then re-invite. I think that's how it works. And then, hang on, someone's raised their hand. Oh, Ritu's in there. That's great. Nice to see you, Ritu. I think Bill should have his invite as well, so he should be coming on soon. Ritu looking marvelous as usual. Very color coordinated as well with my sakura flowers there. But why don't you quickly introduce yourself, Ritu? Who are you? What it is you do? Oh, Ritu, you're muted, my dear. Oh, Ritu, sorry. I think you're muted. Oh, you're both muted. Oh no. Um, you know what? I think this might have happened before. Oh, I've unmuted you, maybe.
Hear me now?
Yeah, you good.
Great. Well, I'll start again. I'm Ritu from VONQ, and I'm delighted to be here. Happy Friday, everyone.
Great stuff. Great to see you, Ritu. And sorry, by the way, I think when you come on, the crowdcast annoys me with this. When it comes on, basically it defaults to mute. Why I do that? The person's actually live. They should immediately be able to speak. Okay, great to see you, Ritu. Bill Fisher, great to see you as usual. Who are you? What it is you do, sir?
It's good to see you. It's been, yeah, we saw TA Tech, so it's been a week.
I
It's been a
know,
week.
too much, mate.
Yeah,
Too
so
much in short
been a
order.
long, no, indeed, been a long week. Not really feeling very well. But I'm Bill. So I run the product engineering function at VONQ, and look forward to. I think we because we have a big launch next week, so we can't really do, or quite soon. So 10 days. So we can't really pitch, which is probably for the best because I tend to be in pitch mode. But it'd be nice to just talk about what we see happening in the industry. Maybe talk a little bit about some of the events we've been at this week and some of the conversations people are having.
That's right, absolutely. And by the way, folks, if you didn't know, there's going to be a massive launch by Vonk in, I think, was it the 3rd of December or was it the 2nd? One of the
2nd
two.
of December.
The 2nd of December. That's when it's going to be. The event is actually out there. So go and register for it. It's going to be a big revamp. And I think I've got an impression it's going to give us a really interesting vision as to what this future of the top of funnel is going to look like. But we're going to try and touch upon bits of that without breaching any sort of launch confidentiality. So let's talk about this. I mean, let's talk about some of the events we've been to because I think that's a good set piece, isn't it? TA Tech 2 weeks or so ago, brilliant event. An event basically for job boards, and everyone in the room is a job board owner. So what better place to figure out what's happening in the job advertising world than that? I mean, you were both there, guys. So what was your take from that event? I mean, where do you think job boards are, and where do you think they're going to go? Are we in the right place? Are they in the right place, should I say, to deal with this future here? Ritu, what's your take?
Yeah, I think it's the biggest question is that we heard a lot during these events is it's not about where do we post jobs anymore. It's really about how do candidates discover them. And that was probably one of the biggest topics is will job boards exist? Job boards will absolutely exist, but I think the nature of how they exist and the intersection with candidates will become key. And there was a lot of conversations around social, which we'll come to, I'm sure. But that probably is the biggest question right now is how do candidates discover the jobs? Is it on job boards or elsewhere?
Job boards will always exist. I intuitively think that's true, but I'm not quite sure why that is. Is it because they're so easy to spin up? I mean, because it is so easy to stick up a job board, and then you could probably get a specialism in there. I've launched a job board before, and it was like reasonably successful. It took me like a day. So is it the low barrier to entry, Bill Fisher? Is that the reason why the laws exist, even if they maybe like pop up shops? They'll just pop up and disappear if they don't work. I don't know.
Um, it seems like there will always be chancers. So when that model works,
A
yeah, we
chance, man. I was doing a legitimate service.
no, I'm certain. No, I have no doubt. I have no doubt. Everything you do is legit. But no, so I think uh, when that model works, it works beautifully. So, but But I think it's under challenge, and I think it's not. I mean, they're easy to spin up, but I think the discovery by candidates is going to get harder and harder. So I mean, the way I think about it is kind of the model that emerged, where the ecosystem where job boards emerged, were because search tools weren't good enough to get a candidate to just the right job. So they could get them close, but you needed a person to kind of do that last kilometer, I guess we say in the we say in the UK. So you'd kind of start your search on Google. You'd kind of have the 10 blue links, which would be job boards that seem to be pretty relevant to your somewhat generic search. And then you would then kind of use faceted search and some basic semantic search tools to try to find a job that's closer to what you want. But I think the discoverability is at risk for job boards. So I think the blue link model could be on its way out, and boards are going to have to find another way to do it. And I do think the large language models are going to want to consume jobs directly from the ATS, and I think that ability to have kind of a direct line right to the employee career site is also dangerous for the job boards.
Yeah, if I may, sorry,
Go
Jan.
ahead, Rishi. No,
Yeah,
go ahead.
I was just thinking, if people now find jobs in the exact same way as they find news or memes or recipes, it's not entirely about logging into a job board and searching. I saw it on my LinkedIn feed. My friend forwarded it in a WhatsApp group, or someone posted in a niche community, or a Slack channel, or a Discord group. I scrolled past it on Instagram whilst procrastinating. So I think that is changing. So we move from search to feed, and from intent to interruption. I think that I see is the big, and the irony is candidates are more discoverable than ever, and they're becoming harder to convert. That is the challenge, because attention is so fragmented, trust is lower, expectations are higher, and people are increasingly skeptical about traditional processes.
That's really interesting. So we're talking about discoverability, maybe on both job and person side. That's increased in the sense that data's out there. However, and presumably with AI as the intermediary, or AI as the agent making that connection, we're going to be able to find each other better. That's the big theory. But there may be a trust factor and an attention factor, because I've matched these 100 jobs now. Brilliant. I'm not gonna, how do I rank them into ones I'm interested in? Can the agent help me do that? Similar on the employer side, anybody can generate 1,000 candidates now, right? And how do I force rank those such that I can identify the relevant people? So that the problem is moving away from this discovery and into what validation is one side, but also like the intent signal, the sentiment, those types of things is where the focus is going to be. Let's talk about sort of what a job board is firstly, because Bill, you mentioned something about, or hang on, AI may want to just, there may be some service that would just ingest or pull in jobs directly from the ATS, and they may present them in some fashion. Presumably that would be the aggregators used to do that, but you're saying that actually the aggregation is just an interface. The new AI aggregator will pull them, but they won't necessarily display everything. They'll just respond to a natural language prompt from the user side, and then just deliver, the top 10 jobs that actually are closest to prompt. So the experience on the job seek is different because you're not landing into, let's say an Indeed or an Indeed-like service. You're landing into a ChatGPT service, typing in, I'm looking for that, and it'll just be a short list of companies, of jobs that are directly from ATS. Is that what you're saying, Bill?
Yeah, I think that's right.
Okay, by the way.
No, I think that's right. So large language models are hungry for data. So they're hungry for data. They're actively going after real-time data. So we're seeing that through the agent functions of the large language models, and they need to provide utility to the users. So they're really going to have to. If you have a service like ChatGPT, which is subscription-based, they're going to have to start generating value for the users over time. So I think they will look at utility functions. So whether that's booking a restaurant, booking a hotel, or finding a job. So I think they're going to move in that direction. So I think they will try to capture real-time data. They have a couple of real advantages over traditional job boards that try to find the right match of a candidate to a job, and that they'll have a much deeper understanding of the job seeker. So they might have historical data for it, but in one sense, they'll have the CV, but they'll have a much deeper, richer understanding of the CV. They'll have a much deeper, richer understanding of the job description. They'll have a deep understanding of the company, but they'll also, just over time, they'll have a much deeper understanding about what the job seeker is really interested in, and what's important to them. And it can also, by jobs that are accepted or rejected, also kind of get that dialed in. So I think that's the piece where puts intermediaries at risk, puts them at risk.
Why don't job boards sort of become that better intermediary, Bill? So they're sitting there, they can see maybe the threat. I don't know whether we got the vibe at TA Tech that, the people there saw the threat or the opportunity. But what are they doing with making use of the technologies that are also threatening them? Did you have any conversations, either of you two, that gave you the sense that the job boards were kind of doing something and taking advantage of these innovations?
Yeah, so there's candidate experience side. So direct apply is kind of a nice function. There's a curation function that they could do better. They might come up with a notification pattern that works better for candidates. They might have they might just come up with an algorithm that the candidates like better than the other algos for finding jobs. So I think there is a lot of interest on the kind of on that candidate experience side, trying to get that dialed in, because I think they really will have to get that dialed in, or otherwise the other option is just very appealing.
Yeah, I'm going to introduce a product called, not a competitor to anybody here, I don't think, but they're an interesting model of a kind of a future-facing a job board, a product like maybe Welcome to the Jungle out of France, right? Where they were very clearly trying to produce a different experience. The name tells you it all, it's like a little bit of okay, we're gonna reinvent this experience. A lot more rich content. It wasn't just jobs on screen. It wasn't just you can apply. Lots of employer branding opportunities, of course, but like career progression content and all that type of stuff. Do you think that's an avenue for job boards to go down, Ritu? Do you think that makes sense? Do you know anything about Welcome to the Jungle? I don't really.
Yeah, we do. We work with Welcome to the Jungle, so we integrate with them. So that's first good news that we do that already. I think it definitely is the case. I think most job boards, in some form or fashion, are figuring out how they reinvent themselves. What do they do from a discovery perspective, or providing rich, personalization is going to be a big thing, content to candidates, whether it's passive or even active or even passive candidates. So I think that there's going to be definitely a lot of reinvention happening. And a lot of job boards are beginning to talk about how do they ingest AI in what form or fashion into their job boards. That hasn't happened yet. They're talking a lot about it, but I don't think anyone has quite gone there just yet. But I think also job discovery that has completely transformed without anyone officially announcing it, sort of the social discovery that I was alluding to earlier. But today, social platforms are talent marketplaces. I think that is what will happen more and more. People don't just find jobs on job boards anymore. They find them exactly the same way they find everything else in their lives, through feeds, through algorithms, through occasional, you should apply for this message from a friend. So jobs now surface on LinkedIn feeds, Instagram reels, TikTok stories, Reddit threads, GitHub, WhatsApp messages. I think the line between content discovery and job discovery is gone. And the important thing is the best candidates are passive candidates. They're very happy in their roles. They're not refreshing. They're not going to job boards. They're not refreshing job boards. They're scrolling, they're browsing, they're consuming, not intentionally even searching. So the challenge in 2025 isn't reach. We can reach anyone. The challenge is activation, turning a passive moment of curiosity into a real hiring conversation.
Yeah, a quick sort of shout out to the people out there watching. Have you done anything online from an advertising perspective, looking for candidates on any of the platforms that Ritu just mentioned there? Like, for instance, have you tried to do anything on TikTok? Have you tried to do anything on Instagram? I got a feeling recruiters are quite reluctant to do it, not because the opportunity isn't there, but maybe the know-how isn't. Like they don't know how to post something that makes sense there. I've seen some people who are community members, recruiters that have got mega audiences on TikTok. And I wonder whether they've done anything on the recruiting side, because they should be able to convert something on that. You know, if they've got 100,000 people following them, and their videos get watched, 10,000 times on a routine basis, you can flash an advert up or something that would make a difference, wouldn't it? So
Couldn't agree more, Hung. The number of customers we speak with who have great followership on many of these platforms. However, it's always about the know-how. How do we actually reach out? Even though many of their passive candidates are constantly browsing through their social channels, they just don't know how to reach them. And I think this is where AI will play a big, big role in a passive candidate might not click apply, but they will engage with a personalized outreach, a short conversational exchange, a nudge at the right moment, or even answer to their questions without waiting 44 hours for a recruiter. And I think that's where the intersection of AI and social really will help convert passive candidates into actually applying and engaging.
you've said something there that really is quite profound for me, Ritu, which is the idea with a job and a job board, the classic modeling of this. Like the only action a candidate can do is actually apply for the job.
Right.
And that's actually a serious commitment, isn't it? Like if you apply for a job, like what does that mean exactly? Like, does that mean I'm now involved? If I get through, does that mean I'm suddenly involved in some recruitment process that takes 20 hours of my time? Or, am I actually resigning from my current job? And, if it's like a different part of the city, a different part of the country, does it mean I got to relocate and, speak to my partner about, hey, pack the bags, love, we're off. So it's got a huge implication. Whereas what probably the modern candidate and even the kind of the historical candidate really wanted was just that check it out. You know what I mean? Can we have more investigation without making that commitment? So that's where maybe an agentic AI could be super useful, because you could interrogate it without it actually signaling that strong intent until you actually figure out, actually, yeah, maybe worth me taking the next step.
And I agree with Steven's comment. He's just posted on the chat that, of course, job seekers also have another action. They could not take any action, not apply. And also agree 19 out of 20 times, perhaps they don't choose to apply. And I think that's where social will have such an important role to play in helping candidates feed them personalized information, a personalized outreach, a short conversation. These are places where suddenly the interaction becomes more meaningful and more personal. And this is where agentic AI really shines, because nurturing at scale is almost impossible manually for a recruiter or a company to do.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And nurturing itself has this funneling kind of idea, which I think we might move away from with agentic, in the sense that, the idea of funneling people down a path is a little bit, I'm getting pressured to apply here. Whereas we just need to have a truly responsive agent that can recognize the signal. This person is responding in really quite brusque responses. Probably they're not that engaged right now. I just got to give them some value straight away without forcing them to go deeper. Whereas if someone who's like asking really comprehensive questions and seemingly really engaged in the chat, I could probably say, you know what, yeah, let's take this to, a little bit deeper. So something just a bit more understanding of how that sort of interaction is going to go. That's exciting to me. And I wonder whether it leads us to another sort of thought process on candidate experience, isn't it? Like, what is it? What do we want as candidates? If we are interrupted by agentic AI on our travels through TikTok or whatever, what do we expect? What would we like to see or be able to invoke from that agent? I'd probably like to see a video. Can I get a video from the hiring manager in action? Has he or she said something online that I can just pull down and have a look see. What's the latest news? Maybe I could just ask it. Can you give me the 10 last time the 10 headlines this company's hit the news or whatever? Just have a quick scan. So something of that would be, I think, quite interesting. But let me know what you think, folks. Anything like that. If you encountered an AI agent kind of interrupted you on your normal work a day, like what would you actually invoke from it? Like what would you like to see this thing respond and fetch back for you? Because we're probably not very far away from this thing being able to do that, aren't we? Bill, I mean, how far away do you reckon we are from an agent like this?
I don't know. So not far. The answer is not far. So no, I like the notion of if somebody's in TikTok, having the agent interact with a candidate in a way that's consistent with what they're already doing in TikTok. So you don't have to pull them into a different experience. So it does seem fun to be able to show somebody their last day at work. The job as they tell their boss off, or a day in the life of an employee there, or a live view of what's happening there, or workspace videos, or just all of that. So the notion that an agent could be a curator in TikTok and could pick up some signals from a passive candidate of some level of interest, and then delivering kind of a channel specific content seems powerful to me. And then I think part of the point that Ritu is getting at is that a difficult thing for social has really been it's closing the loop of taking that interest and converting it into an application. It's that step. So having agents again that could do that mediation, so do that level, we think starts to make the economics work there. But I really like the thinking about that flow that the candidate does in when they're doing there, because you can't get them to bounce out of Instagram Reels into Workday. Workday, like it's too big a step for anyone. Yes, certainly a passive candidate.
But you're also jumping from two devices. That's the killer straight away,
Right.
aren't you? So if you're on TikTok, you might be on the move. You've got to be able to get the candidate to do something there. Maybe you can't do it, but perhaps the candidate has an agent, or maybe the agent it's interacted with could kind of have a neutral position on it. Perhaps the agent could help you. Like maybe everyone has a LinkedIn profile. Presumably they do. But perhaps the agent could fetch your LinkedIn profile based on your yes on TikTok, and then submit that on your behalf as an application.
That's fun. That's fun.
That's doable, isn't it? It doesn't seem that. It seems that that's technically doable.
It's totally doable, especially if it happens on the candidate side. Like, there's no reason why they couldn't. There could be an agent that is activated on the candidate side that allows them just to pull that LinkedIn.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just thinking out loud here is if you think of right now, if someone is even remotely interested in applying for a role, there are so many steps before you even talk to someone. They read the job, they overthink whether they're qualified, at least women do. They get distracted by a notification, they forget to come back, or they simply can't face another long application form or 12 fields or 50 fields. So the future really is about removing some of that. It's just almost flipping the model from saying candidates chase job to the job meets the candidate where they are. So to your point around Hung, if they are on mobile, or if they are on WhatsApp, or if they're on TikTok, can we find them right there and then on their terms? And the companies who win in this next chapter will be the ones who really combine this smart distribution, wherever you're distributing your job, to AI-led interaction. So some quick conversation or content distribution to clear skills signals. Okay, well, Hung, you have these 5 skills or competencies related to this job. Doesn't matter if logos match or if titles match, but actually I can see clear signals here. That's where companies will win, is if we can have that combination of distribution, AI-led interaction, and clear skill signal.
Do you know what, Ritu? Again, you've caused the visualization to happen in my mind. And the idea of a job like chasing a candidate, or not chasing, because that's too predatorial, but a job actually identifying the candidate and then actually being carried towards that person. Again, I'm going to use kind of a fairly hostile type of metaphor, but it's kind of like a heat-seeking missile, let's say. So instead of, you know what I mean, it's not like, you're not firing like a massive fusillade
Right.
in trying to hit everything. You just took one shot, and actually this is going to just track the right candidate, and it's going to follow the candidate, and the candidate's going to have the opportunity. Maybe they never visit the job board, or perhaps the job board becomes the agent. Then maybe the job board may exist as a database. It's just a database with a front end at the end of the day. Perhaps the front end just becomes moribund. It's always there for the boomers or people like me who still want to go and scroll and click. But maybe the majority of people will be identified as the job comes to them in some way, and the agent kind of goes through the internet and pings you, I guess.
Absolutely.
No, that's fun. That's fun. So I also, if you just think on the generative side, the ability to spin up avatars, the ability to spin up, I mean, if you just give a floor plan of a company to an AI, they could just all of a sudden in the TikTok stream, the candidate can just start walking down the hallways of the office, turn around. I mean, I think there's probably some really fun stuff that could happen on the generative side as well. But social, I think unlocking social is really attention. So I mean, you mentioned attention at the beginning. The usage of the web has really compressed to very few places. There are very few places to find passive candidates. Social is one of those. Unlocking social is going to be really important for unlocking that passive candidate.
Are you guys aware of a product called Flockety? A lady called Tracy Parsons in the US runs this, and it's influencer marketing for jobs. So in the same way that you have like YouTube, who's like Marques Brownlee or whatever he is. Obviously, he reviews a product, and he could like sink or swim that product based on the fact that millions of people follow him reviewing tech stuff. And if he endorses this phone, guess what? That's going to ship like 1 million units that day. And so it's using that mechanic to distribute a job, and it's literally picking out, let's say, an influencer that is I don't know, healthcare tips. Maybe there's nursing influencers. There's the influencers that are nurses that to teach people basic nursing practices. That nursing influencer could distribute jobs to a lot of healthcare workers, right? And so Tracy's product does that kind of. I think I've not actually dived into it too much, but it's in that sort of one of the very first examples of again using social, but the understanding within social that the people who do get the biggest attention are the individuals that have already acquired the audience, and they become the distribution channel. So I wonder, have you guys thought about that in any way? Is that a little bit too distant to VONQ? I mean, is that something that may happen in some future?
No, but I love it. I love it. I love it. I'm trying to think. So when so when I was choosing a university, which is a big decision somebody makes in their life, a lot of people made that decision based upon how likable the recruiter from that university was when they're on the campus, which is absurd rationale to make that kind of decision. But it's just sort of the power of a personality and influencer. So there was just a bumper year of applicants from California my year to my university, just for that reason alone. And there's no reason why you wouldn't have the same. People see an influencer, they want to dress like them, they like their vibe, they think they have a good understanding of them. If the influencer's vibe is a good fit for the company vibe and for that role, it makes a lot of sense that part of that mimetic. One of the things people talk about is mimesis and mimetic desire. And that's kind of where some of the power is in social, is that people can kind of see somebody they sort of identify with, and then sort of have some aspirations around getting, kind of being in that circle or having that kind of life. So it makes a lot of sense to me, but we haven't looked at it. But
it's very early.
It seems super powerful. It seems super powerful if you could get that dialed in.
Yeah. It's very, very early, but you can imagine like where I'm seeing, I mean, there's obviously generic influencers that have just got zillions of followers across all kinds of different types of demographics. But from what I've observed, that people seem to self-select into interest sort of groups, don't they? So you get a bunch of people that are super interested in being, plumbing or whatever, and you get a bunch of people interested in coffee. Presumably those people might actually be very suitable to work for a coffee company, I guess. Do you know what I mean? So why are those coffee companies not going to these people and potentially getting those individuals in there? Just a TikTok, that's a job, right? That's obviously very easy job advert. So yeah, very, very interesting on social. Let's move on, talk a little bit about talent marketplaces and these what I call walled cities or walled communities. So job board in my view is...
Can I interrupt for just 1 second? I'm going to say goodbye, even though I'd rather stay here and do this than anything else. But I've got a ton of other things I need to get done today. So I am going to say and continue the conversation. You continue the conversation with Bill, if that's okay.
That's more than okay, Ritu. You can drop away. You have a very good weekend, I'd say, but your probably weekend isn't going to start for a couple of hours yet. So enjoy the rest of your work day, and then we'll have a chat in a couple of weeks when you're ready to launch the big thing.
Thank you, Hung. Thank you. I'm just going to finish by saying, if you haven't signed up for the launch yet, all of those who are listening and watching, please do. It's going to be an exciting one on the 2nd December. And Hung, thank you very much for having me. Have a lovely weekend, everyone.
See you later, Ritu.
Bye.
Right, Bill, it's just you and me, mate. I don't know how we're going to cope.
How exciting! Boss is away. Boss is away.
This may go wrong immediately.
Yeah.
It's like people are not safe for work. It's like probably now time to cut the feed. But talent marketplaces. So in my view, a difference between a job board and a talent marketplace is one is open, one is closed. Like a job board, anybody can sign up more or less. Any company can post a job. There's nobody walling it. There's no gatekeeper. Whereas a talent marketplace, there's actually somebody just stopping companies and candidates coming in, doing a primary filter, usually locking it in domain and saying, look, maybe no recruitment agencies, or, we're only interested in tech candidates, whatever that filter is, and then they're in. And that's almost like it's signaling very clearly to both sides of that marketplace that come in, you know what, you're only going to get relevance. The relevance signal is higher because there's actually the initial filters being performed by the platform. How does the agentic world, are you seeing more innovation from those folks than the job boards? So, because they're already kind of more technical, I'd say. They're probably a little bit stronger already on recommendations. I mean, what have you seen in there that's of interest to you? Or would you lump them in with the job boards generally, or what?
No, but I would lump them in with where the job boards probably need to move to, where they need to move to. So, because you mentioned this kind of a curation of the jobs that come in and a curation of the candidates. I know I was a little bearish, on job boards earlier, but I do think, and we've seen some interesting plays where they do some vetting, they do some know your candidate stuff, they do some storing of applications for repurposing that, they could do some credentialing, they could do some skills assessments, so that you could just kind of run that process one time within that marketplace, and then have that just be repurposed, so you don't have to continually go through producing documents, know your candidate, go through the assessments. I mean, even kind of first and second round interviews. So I think all of that makes a lot of sense for job boards to start to pick up more of that. And then the marketplaces, I mean, they're natural for that. And so that makes a lot of sense to me. In terms no, I'm not, I mean, there's some of the tech ones, Hack a Job, and some of the other kind of ones in that space do it really well.
Yeah. Hack a Job's done some really interesting innovation, but I think they're emerging out of even being a marketplace at some point, because their agents seem to escape the market, which I was really interested to see. So their latest agent actually goes into Slack and stuff like this, and it was like, okay, that's like very interesting because it's in workflow for the hiring manager, right? Suddenly they're getting candidates pulled from this wall city into the workflow of a normal person, a civilian person that isn't a full-time recruiter. And think, you know what, that's going to be powerful. The validation, the know your customer, it's almost like the banking side, know your customer vibe. I think that's a really big play for job boards. But have you seen any companies actually, genuinely go in there and go, forensic with the ID side? Like, why aren't they buying ID verification firms? And like,
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know because I mean it's a cost that a company needs to absorb. It'd be nice if they didn't have to absorb that kind of in the process. There's so many synthetic applications and AI applications and imposter applications that it really would be nice to have some friction in the process and have some vetting kind of at the top, at the very top of the funnel. So yeah, I mean, I know they're always. I feel like every year there's kind of a new play in that space, and maybe the time is now. So maybe um, maybe the tools are sophisticated enough to turn in those pools of candidates and pair those well and have the right comms tools to do the outreach and make it work.
that's got to be one major thing that's stopping a lot of advertising happening. Like one of the vibes we got in TA Tech was generally job posting volume was down, and that's not just the global macro being what it is. It's also the case that I think companies that do have requirements are thinking, I'm not getting much ROI from this. I'm posting a job ad, getting 1,000+ candidates back. I can't see signal from noise on that. That's a waste of my time. In fact, it's worse than a waste of my time. It's increasing my effort to have to deal with all of this. I'm going to go a different route to reduce that candidate flow. So, challenge for job boards is basically how do you help that company reduce flow? And I would be interested to see a job board do something similar to the what crypto exchanges used to do. Where before every time you log in, you'd have to verify your ID real quick. You get used to doing that, that's fine, and only then can you transact. And when you transact, you have to verify again. And I think yes, it's friction, but the trust factor goes up because what I think you need to do is to prevent bad actors from just randomly applying and clogging up the pipeline of jobs, and then that causes a problem for every other candidate. If you don't mitigate against that, then pretty soon you're going to be completely festooned with, an AI enabled bad actor could act with a force of 10,000 candidates, and we have to find a mitigation factor, a sort of method for that.
No, I totally agree. I totally agree. So I'm reluctant. I mean, I don't really like the. I think we do need some friction on the application side. So introducing some friction somewhere on that process. I don't like the notion of making candidates pay to apply. So that's kind of like one
No,
of those models that keeps emerging, or they pay to get a curated list of jobs. It's not
I agree.
something. It's just not something I like. I see the utility, and it probably delivers very good value. Some of those platforms, but there's something I don't like about it. But if you did pay to do the some sort of ID check, some sort of assessment, some sort of background check, and then you could repurpose that, and then we get into the does that sit in the blockchain or is it just an OAuth thing? Like I don't really feel like the blockchain is is required to do
No, no,
something
I
along those
might have,
lines. I mean, I
I
think
might have
they're,
confused it by saying crypto bill, but basically I didn't mean that the candidate would necessarily
are
pay
you be like
crypto
a
to do it.
micropayment or
Not even. It's like just using the techniques of verification or you know what I mean, to transact. Like
oh,
logging
just the
into
KYC, just the KYC
yeah,
stuff.
logging in, you need to have some way to verify who you are before you even on platform. And then if you want to go and do a trade, you gotta then re-verify once more. And I was thinking, right, you know what? Over time, that's annoying, but very quickly you learn how to do it, and then it becomes all right, fine. Now I get it, and the trust factor goes up on both sides. So we're not talking about paying to play, but more like okay, using some of the techniques, whether it's crypto or otherwise. But those are the gates I think on the verification. The reason why I say this, Bill, is because we've got to also maintain the identity trust all the way through, because we might have a scenario where someone is verified, but then I hand the account over to someone else who then goes away and starts applying or whatever. I mean that is
Oh
also
yeah,
something that might happen.
no, it's fun. No, I mean, we see people, like one person applies, but somebody else shows up for the interview. Somebody else shows up for the interview,
This
and then
happens.
somebody else ends
Yeah,
up working as well. So like it's crazy.
Yep.
So
I
that,
mean,
that that's
again,
that's where that's where that crypto thing, where it's kind of a low lift, frequent touch, uh, or frequent check, just to make sure.
what I am seeing is that the ID stuff is starting to come in on ATS is very interesting, which is closer to sort of towards the end of that pipe, because by the time they're in sort of that flow, so it's not happening at the front of the funnel. Maybe that makes sense, but intuitively, I kind of feel like it should, the ID stuff should happen a bit earlier in the process. Maybe I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, right to work. I mean, it's frustrating for everyone when, I mean, it's a waste of everyone's time if somebody just legally
Yeah.
can't take that offer. So finding some way to have that screen early on, uh, low cost, no friction.
Bill, final couple of questions before I let you go. No, you're not feeling 100%. Have you heard of a theory called was it carcinization? Is that something? Is that a phrase that's familiar to you?
Cost
I think
organization.
it's called carcinization. It basically is a theory from evolution, evolutionary biology, which basically suggests that actually a lot of forms end up always evolving into crab-like forms
Okay, that's funny.
from different
So some
roots.
some sort of crustacean. Yeah.
It's a
Yeah,
crustacean. It's an arachnid.
teleological, eventually
Exactly. It
we're all
doesn't matter what the
crustaceans.
biological start
Sure,
is. It
sure.
just
No,
ends
that's
up
funny.
being that way. Now,
That's funny.
I think there is a version of this in recruitment, because I think everyone turns into a recruitment agent at some point. And I've got a feeling job boards may end up doing that. Because as they layer on more ID verification, they layer on more, our quality control, cultural fit, all this type of stuff. Then you think, hang on, aren't they actually performing the job of a recruitment agent then? Because they're not just posting a bunch of jobs and collecting a lot of candidates, but they're actually filtering them. In which case, do they not then logically charge, as a recruiter does, which is percentage of salary, pay per hire? What do you think of that future? Do the job boards end up evolving into the next generation of recruitment agents and boot out the old school recruitment agents because they're better, more technically able, and so on?
Uh, yeah. I mean, it's fun. It's fun. I mean, there's a real struggle for everyone to get candidates, to just get the attention of candidates. So whether that sits on a job board, or maybe it sits at an ATS, like maybe there's just sort of yeah, for some reason, ATSs, they have, thousands of hiring companies and they don't really do shared services. But maybe it makes sense just to have kind of known entity applications. If somebody does the vetting for one, that vetting could be used for all. So maybe there's some, and then you could even have shared between ATS. Yeah, I don't know where that layer sits. I don't know where that layer sits, but it makes a lot of sense to me that we would have a layer like that, and it shouldn't have to. It shouldn't be. There shouldn't be a full document
Every
check every
time.
time, or a full
Yeah.
KYC every time.
Yeah, annoying. Do you remember a company called Mulberries in Germany? They attempted to do something similar to that, where they would just sign up companies that would all agree that this is our quality control mechanism. And they would all interview independently, all fine, but they'll reject candidates, but they'll label certain candidates as very good rejects, basically. Look, if we had an extra job, we'd hire this guy. And that person would go into the pool that would then be available for everyone else who'd signed up for that sort of service. So they end up basically agreeing, oh look, VONQ, Neely hired this guy, great candidate. I know the quality control of VONQ's assessment. I'm going to drop this person straight into final interview CEO because he's gone through this process. I mean, the product didn't work, but I just wonder whether in this AI-enabled era, we might see a revisiting of that type of sense.
I mean, that's fun. I'm trying to think. So again, the discovery, kind of at that discovery layer, which is hard. But maybe it's the large language model that does that check. So maybe they build a CV for you. They could check some documents. They could do a basic document check. The paid services already have some sort of ID against a. There's already some infrastructure there that they could just do that, and then when the candidate flows through the large language model, that could just get passed to the hiring company, whatever that vetting code is.
Yeah, I think I mean, all of these things do point to a revolutionary outcome when it comes down to what job boards used to be. I mean, given the fact that you can spin up job board very easily, I think they do continue to exist in some way. And maybe they will always put for a percentage of different types of job functions. Perhaps that's still the obvious way to do things. But there's going to be like a big change in how the discovery process works
No, I
at a
agree.
landscape level, right?
Yeah, I mean, I guess the other way to think about it is let's say people do spin up agents, and they have an agent that books restaurants for them, that books travel for them, could even check banking or have access to financial type data. And so within that ecosystem, the agent has to have some sort of identity. And so maybe it's that agent that also manages the job search and the applications. So
This
so
is
it could
what
just be so it could just be a multi-purpose agent that um, has a lot of permissions and it has some verification.
this is what our friend Simon, our mutual friend Simon, in the chat is saying, which is everyone has an agent. I think okay, that's a great dream, but it's also a very technical dream in the sense that a lot of technical people will not understand where their agent comes from. Like for instance, you're a tech guy, Bill. You could probably build your own agent, and you would understand that that agent is fully under your sovereign control. You could dictate to that agent how to play it, and you could fully then trust it to do things. 99.9% of the people out there would think, hang on, where do I get my agent? I can't build mine. They'd go to an agent platform, right, which would probably be a job board. But how do we trust how do we trust the agent that the job board gives me?
Yeah.
Um,
No, that's fun. I think I mean people are talking about it in e-commerce. Yeah, that people have shopping agents that could also do the checkout as well. So I think the notion that you have an agent, maybe that gets extracted away. It's just you want to buy something, the agent pops up to manage that, yeah, the checkout, yeah, and the payment. You want to book a holiday, so it can take over that part of the transaction, can do the discovery, and then also can just handle all of the make sure the passport number is there, or
yeah,
just all the
yeah,
all those
yeah.
other all those checks. So it has access to some sort of digital wallet of the person. But I think the person isn't spinning up an agent. They just have this, just within ChatGPT, they just have the ability to perform these other actions, and those actions are agentic, but they're not thinking of it as spinning up an agent.
Yeah, I think it's in. I mean, again, 2026 is going to be a fascinating sort of year because a lot of these innovations are going to just wash over us in a big wave. I feel, and I'm very much looking forward to seeing what you guys are cooking up in the next couple of weeks. Without giving anything away, Bill, and I know this is like high risk question because you're very tempted to give something away. Do not give anything away. But how ready are you guys to launch? Are you still in the build process for this, or are we locked and loaded with what you're going to do for us in a couple of weeks with VONQ?
Yeah, I'm trying to think what I can say. So Ritu's been um, very clear that this launch event is slightly different than other launch events, and that it's not a pre-launch. It's not a pre-product launch. And so a lot of these are products that have been in development for a while. We've worked with
Mm-hmm.
global staffing and enterprise customers over the last year, building these products and building these flows. And so we're just going to be announcing them to a wider audience. Um, so there's a very good strategy of kind of doing the announcement before the product is launched, just to
Mm-hmm.
freeze out investment from everyone else if they think the space is already crowded and competitive. But we're doing this differently. And I think for AI products, so many people have been burned on bad pilots in
Mm.
vaporware. And um, I mean, working with non-deterministic models is tricky. They're I mean, there's so many weird little challenges that it's dead simple. I mean, you mentioned like spinning up a job board is dead simple now. spinning up some of these recruitment services. Like, it's dead simple to build bad products in the space, but they don't scale. They're not compliant. They fall over in many ways.
Yeah.
But what we're showing off is things that are already in the wild, already working, and we'll be talking about some of the results we're seeing, a little snapshot of some just some of these new products we have out there.
Yeah, this is going to be super interesting. Folks, if you're interested in that launch, it's 2nd of December, 3 p.m. I believe the link to that's already been shared in the chat stream. I'll definitely be tuning into it. And I think it's going to be a live event as well. So if you follow VONQ's company page on LinkedIn, you'll be notified on there as well. Okay, that's about it, Bill. I gotta let you go. I could speak to you forever, but I know you need to have a cup of tea or something, and maybe a lie down. I hope you're feeling better, sir.
I think they'll lie down. So
yeah.
Although
Thanks
we
for
have,
joining.
Bill Borman.
Yes, of course.
Obviously we all do. So like I've got the sniffles and like I'm down a little bit. But like Bill Borman gets off like 2 back-to-back 30-hour flights and 3 nights without sleep, and like he always.
No problem. Yeah, he's a monster, mate. Bill B is an absolute monster. Cannot be stopped by any force of nature. The Godzilla of recruitment really is. That's it. Okay, Bill, great to see you, man. You have a lie down. I'll see you in a couple of weeks. Okay.
Excellent. Good to see you, hon.
Cool. Well, that's it. What do you think of this show, folks? Slightly different style, a lot more discursive, a lot more kind of, conversational, I guess. I kind of just dropped Bill and Ritu in here with the view of having dialogue. I was just very confident that, there's so much like intellectual horsepower on that side of the fence that you'd just be able to have a really good conversation. So yeah, hopefully you enjoyed it. If this is the sort of like more free flowing dialogue that you think is of value, do let me know in the comments, and we might end up doing a few more of these in the next year. Next year is getting prepped, ready to go. By the way, we've already almost entirely sold out on the sponsorship on this. So we've got an action-packed year to come. There's going to be some new designs as well. So the cover image, get ready for some action on that. I also need to improve my camera and audio. So hopefully you'll see some changes there as well. Really excited to continue to bring these conversations to you and the rest of the audience. Okay, that's it. We'll be back next week. What are we talking about? Oh, I should actually properly announce it. The next sort of 4 weeks are going to be, the next 4 episodes are going to be a look back episodes of what's happened in recruitment in 2024. So essentially we've got 4 episodes. We're going to just chop up, I think 12 topics we share them between 4 episodes, and we're going to talk about sourcing, candidate experience, D&I, employer branding, AI, economy, whatever, all of these topics we care about. They're going to be discussed in the next 4 weeks. And I've essentially got, the brain trust of the recruiting industry to join us in those chats. So follow the channel if you want to keep abreast on those things. If you're watching this on LinkedIn, follow my page on LinkedIn. You broadcast there all the time. And you can individually register for these shows in the Crowdcast channel as well. So make sure you do that if you want to be notified specifically on the topic you care about most. Okay, that's about it. Great chatting with you. I hope you have a very good weekend. We'll see you next week.